I've been actively following the Helldivers 2 situation over the last couple days, kinda just with my fingers crossed, hoping that Sony will change their mind about the awful decision that's tanking the game. But unfortunately, just like my height, it hasn't changed, and now it looks like it's probably too late anyway. Even if you started putting like a rabbit's foot up your butthole for some good luck, it looks like it won't matter. Because in the words of a great man, this is democracy manifest. The game has been removed from 177 different regions from Steam. So this ship is already sailed here. For those that don't know what's going on, Helldivers 2 is one of the most successful games of 2024, a game that I was personally so excited by and happy with that I made a whole video dedicated to singing its praises and just gushing grannies over it, about how rare it is for a game, especially a game like Helldivers 2, which is a live service game, and that title, live service, has a more negative connotation than the title Reddit mod. And yet Helldivers 2 went on to buck every dogshit trend that the gaming industry has been shoving down people's throats and found immense success. A massive, passionate community and a huge player base. It's an incredible game and they do everything right with it in terms of how they deliver new content. It's just so good. It was positioned to just be an extremely popular game that had a very strong community forever, as long as they kept up this momentum. And yet, a couple days ago, from out of nowhere, they were able to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, thanks to Sony, mainly. There was an announcement that all PC players that were playing Helldivers 2 through Steam would now need to link their Steam account to a PSN account in order to continue to have access to the game. Now, this isn't unusual, and a lot of people were quick to point out, like, gamers are just spoiled, they're making a big deal out of nothing, this is a mountain out of a molehill, what a bunch of fucking barnacles here, this is all horseradish, why are people making an issue out of it? And while they're right that it's easy to link an account and it's not unusual, it's more common than the cold. If you play a game on Steam, sometimes you'll be forced to link to like a Microsoft account or, God forbid, a Ubisoft account. Like, this does happen a lot, but what they're not understanding about this case in particular is when Helldivers 2 launched, you did not have to do that. Now, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty because there were statements on the official page where you should link a PSN account, but they made it optional. Like, you didn't have to, you weren't forced to, which led to plenty of people from a ton of different regions buying Helldivers 2 who do not have access to the PlayStation Network, thus they can't link their Steam account to a PSN account, meaning they won't be able to play this game going forward. And now we're reaching the point where we're at today, where it's been removed from 177 different regions on Steam. So it's a massive fucking mess, and it is a headache. Like, there's no reason to tiptoe around this. No one likes having to link their account to other services. It just creates a lot more hoops to jump through. Yes, it's not a huge time investment, but it is a fucking nuisance. Especially Sony. Like, they're claiming that the reason behind this is for security. I mean, what a load of hooey. Security, Sony's infrastructure is like the least secure on the planet. I'd rather link my account to a known crypto scammer than link it to the Sony network. They get hacked every couple of years like clockwork. I wouldn't be surprised if hackers started holding their own E3 to make their upcoming announcements on the next Sony hack. It is so frequent, so it's not exactly the most secure place to hold your information. You're probably better off just writing down all your information on a piece of paper, folding it into a paper airplane, and throwing it out the window. It's probably safer that way. Like, it's a ridiculous claim. I think the reason that they want everyone to link their PSN account is because it looks a lot better on their bottom line earnings report when they like go through all of their player counts and whatever. I think that's probably the reason behind it. Of course, I'm not 100% sure why, but they seem to really be adamant about needing these accounts linked, which has completely ruined the reputation of Helldivers 2 because it's made everyone mad. So it's been review bombed to shit. That got straight banished to the shadow realm. It used to have mostly positive reviews, like literally one of the video game industry's darlings. Now it's got negative reviews thanks to this change, and a lot of people are going to lose access to the game that they paid for, which is a problem. Now, there is refunds that are being offered, which a lot of people are taking, and it's just been a disaster for a game that is truly special. Helldivers 2 is such a good game, and it's now been completely tainted forever because of this decision from Sony. A fucking classic Sony L here. So let's dive into a bit more of the weeds. I actually think Ludwig did a great job covering the broad strokes of this, so I'm going to play a couple clips from his video.
To the defense of Helldivers 2, this was on their Steam page since their launch 3 months ago. This is actually my screenshot. It says right here, requires third-party account. PlayStation Network supports linking to Steam account. However, they did not enforce it. And if you go to the FAQ on PlayStation's own website, they would say signing into PSN is optional when playing a PlayStation game on PC. They have since changed this FAQ when they made this update today, and that's why people are not happy. Here's another page where it says, do I need a PSN account to play PlayStation games on PC? No, you do not, currently. Now, they have changed this policy, and they're now saying you got to do it with certain games, including Helldivers 2, which has millions and millions of players.
So as you can see, it was clearly posted that you would need a PlayStation account to play the game. However, it wasn't a rule that they were enforcing, and if you did any level of digging on your own, you'd find that on their own official FAQs for Sony, they said that signing into it is optional. Thus, you would start to connect dots in your noodle oh, okay, so I downloaded Helldivers 2 on Steam. I'm not being forced to make a PSN account, thus this must be one of those games where it's optional to make one. I think I'll avoid doing that. I think I'll go ahead and press skip, which is something you can do or could do with Helldivers 2. So there'd be no reason for players to think that down the line they would change their stance on this. All of a sudden, hey, now you need to sign in here, Buster. You've been breaking the rules behind our back. Because they've made it clear that it is optional in cases. And it seemed like Helldivers 2 was one of those cases, which it was. But what they ended up saying is that there was a grace period. So, you could initially gain access to Helldivers 2 without a PSN account, but it was only for a temporary period of time to guinea pig it, to get you hooked on it, and then you'd have to, get your comeuppance here by signing into PSN, which I think is extremely misleading if that really is the case. If that was the plan from the beginning, if they had always planned to just get a huge influx of players and then just fucking bait and switch them with the PSN requirement, I think that is almost criminal. Because, again, there are so many regions that had access to Steam that could download Helldivers 2 that cannot link with a PSN account, thus they're going to lose access to the game they paid for. That is fucked up. That is some super scummy shit if that really is the case, if that's what Sony's long-term plan was. I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if this is just one of those things where they're okay, we need more juice in our PSN numbers. Let's go ahead and force the massive Helldivers community to link with us. It'll be great for our numbers here. That's probably the most likely answer, but still, it is a problem. It's not so much, again, the concept of needing to link an account from Steam to another service. That's been here prevalent for many, many years. It's the fact that so many people could do it without that step, and now they're retroactively adding that requirement, and that makes it impossible for a lot of players to play the game going forward. That is the main issue here. It's fucking stupid, and it is a decision that has completely ruined the reputation of Helldivers 2, and it makes me super sad to see that, because this is a great, great game that has now just been run through the mud here because of Sony's greed.
These are the current available countries where you can make a PlayStation account. There's a lot of users who play this game who cannot make a PlayStation account, thus cannot play the game legally. Now, you might think, well, how about you just make up an account? But if you look at PlayStation's own rules, they say, well, hey, you have to make an account in the country that you reside in. That's the rule here. And if you don't, we may request identifying documents to prove that you were in that country. And if we suspect that you are not following our terms of service, we might remove or compromise your account. We might ban it altogether. You might lose access to be able to play the game that you paid for altogether. So basically, the only way for a lot of the user base to play the game is if they break the rules that Sony laid out, which is a little bit fucking dumb to me.
It's a little bit fucking dumb to everyone outside of the Sony stupid tank where they're in there just actually huffing moron potions. It's crazy how they wouldn't see this as an issue. So, as Ludwig states, there is a list of every country that can have a PSN account, and there's a lot of places absent from that list that have access to Steam, have a lot of players for Helldivers 2, and will not be able to make this PSN account. The only way around it is to make a fraudulent PlayStation account, flub it a bit, which breaks Sony's rules, and you could lose your account because of that. So they have no options except to stop playing the game that they love. It's a problem, and it's an entirely avoidable one that didn't need to happen in the first place. Sony could have just continued to ride this cash cow into the sunset. Helldivers 2 is a smashing fucking success. It is a colossal achievement, and they have found a way to wipe their ass with it. And my heart absolutely breaks for the passionate team behind Helldivers 2. Now, initially when this stuff started happening, one of the community managers kind of made a fool of themselves. I'm not even going to bother showing the screenshot. I'm sure you all know what I'm referring to here. They put on the clown makeup for a second. But shortly after that, they all did start wiping it off when they realized the actual problem isn't the 120 seconds it takes to create a PSN account and link it to Steam. The problem is retroactively having to enforce that rule, which kicks out tons and tons of their players. And there are plenty of players who just do not want to make a PSN account because it's not a secure database. Like, I think that's also a totally fine perspective to have, because they do get hacked all the fucking time. So, like, they get hacked more than, like, a terminal in Fallout 3. So, like, I do get that perspective for people that just do not want to do it because they want to keep their data safe. Thus, they're just going to drop Helldivers because they don't want to deal with PSN. But at the core of it, it's just the principle of Sony coming in here and ruining the fun. Changing something that didn't need to be changed in the first place. They could have just sat back, put their hands under their thighs, kicked their legs in their corpo high chairs, and just been like, you know, hey, we're happy Helldivers is bringing us so much money. Thanks for doing all the hard work while we just get a royalty on it. Like, it could have been so easy. It was so easy. And now they've made it really hard for themselves, and in the process, they have tanked an incredible game's reputation. But anyway, that's kind of the gist of this situation here. I don't think Sony's going to walk back these changes. I think it is too late for that since it's now been removed from Steam in so many places. I just don't see them changing their mind on it. And I think Helldivers is going to continue to kind of bleed out here as more and more people leave. And it just, I don't know, that sucks. It's such a good game, and it just didn't have to be this way, Sony. You killed it. You took it behind the barn and you put it down. Ugh. It was so unnecessary. But anyway, just want to talk about it a bit. That's it. So yeah.